My name is Francesco. I am the founder of OpenPhabric, which is an office of landscape architecture and urbanism based in Rotterdam and in Milan. So we are fortunate enough to work on a global scale. We have a broad range of projects. I like to describe our projects in terms of very different scale. We go from the very little of furnitures up to regional plans, and I would say even further. I like to engage both at my office with my colleagues at OpenPhabric on this diversity, and also as an academic, as I'm visiting professor at Politecnico di Milano, and I will be actually from September design critic at Harvard GSD. Our research on soil is, I like to think at it as a research, but as a matter of fact, is a curiosity. Let's say my interest is to put under the spotlight soil, as it is key in many ways. It is key in terms of biodiversity. So we usually do not include soil while we explore the notion of biodiversity, which is limited to the botanical and to the animal part of our ecosystems. But anything we do, it is deeply based and I would say grounded in the presence of soil. We plant trees from tree nursery on a substrate, but we lack, I think, as a discipline, the question of which kind of soil it is, how good, how diverse it is, and the history of this soil. So our research is about this. It's about deepening into the knowledge of different soils and give it a very important standpoint within our projects. Many other design exercises we are doing now include ground, land, and soil as main protagonists. Indeed, I think the work of OpenPhabric and the work of my own research is oriented into unfolding the verticality. I would say unfolding the depth. Is a deep soil what we have underground. And I would say this is possible to invert as a reading also to the air, to the atmosphere, which is another somehow status quo, is this gas we are living into. So our work is about unfolding, is about unfolding spatially ground, but in the other hand, there is also a time element to consider. It's a time element because, of course, ground is a palimpsest, is the layering of history of different elements, of different traces which have been left by the natural history, is that the human history, or the combination of the two. Land architecture is very powerful as an understanding in focusing on something. Somehow I think also that land architecture is included in landscape architecture, which is, a holistic term, but by driving interest, forces, investments, I would say, into research, land architecture can go back and inform landscape architecture. So to me, it's a very relevant and important, step aside from the discipline in order to create a new understanding, which again should be broad and diffuse, not only to the discipline, but also to human beings. Land architecture to me can also be related to air. I mean, can we design air? Can we design the atmosphere? As a matter of fact, we are. And the two of them have something in common. They do not care about borders. They do not care about imposed limits. It's a continuous medium which wraps around our planet. So both of them are air and land. So we should defend this almost as borderless reality, as ecosystem, as ecology should be addressed without any limits, wrapping around the whole planet Earth. And we were interested into, deepening our understanding on the Mediterranean, and in the other hand, on the notion of migrating landscapes. So there is a question underlying this project, which is the Mediterranean continent migrating? And this definitely refers back to land architecture in terms of ignoring any given border and addressing, let's say, elements of continuity within a system. A migrating landscape is the notion, which has been addressed already by very interesting scholars. I have in mind, for instance, Brett Milligan, is a notion that migrations should not only be described as things, seeds, human beings, goods moving above and throughout a fixed background, but is a fact that the background is moving as such. And what Migrating Mediterranean would like to do is to keep together different timescales. So this movement goes from the very slow movement of tectonic plates, and continents moving apart or moving close together with elements which live within an instant, let's say, an eruption, an earthquake, and any sort of immediate disruption we may, witness within the continent. All these elements are tied together. To me, this big mapping is capable of showing, elements of autonomy and elements of dependency, of mutual dependency. Well, not to mention internet underground cable. We are linked together by a network which is completely invisible. But the gas pipeline, especially now that we're witnessing to a crisis in that sense, while highlighting the gas pipeline system, you immediately understand system of dependency, which may put one country in a weak position to other. It's geopolitics, obviously, as well included. But I really wanted also to give it a narrative. It all shows that it's changing. But we should, I think, as researchers and therefore as designers as well, understand that all the Mediterranean is migrating, is moving, and is deeply unstable. If I have to focus on some of these elements, I would say, volcanic eruption, tectonic plates, earthquakes, main cities, precipitation, but as well, all, let's say, part of the research deepens into resource extractions. So we know our landscape is deeply extracted. So from gas pipelines, though they're coming maybe from, Central Africa, or Russia or Ukraine, we have salt works, we have wind farms, we have boreholes, platform. We have also a part which shows indeed some of the climatic conditions specific to cities, like precipitation, so millimeters of water per year, which also show a very different context within the shoreline of the Mediterranean, from very deep aridity, literally going very close to 0 millimeters of water per year, going up to 2,000 millimeters per year within the same sea. I think this is an exercise which aims to show something which is usually hidden. Let's say, where does our food come from? I think it's a great exercise we could all do at breakfast or lunchtime, in tracing all the different ingredients, where does it come from? And finding a complete answer, I would say, is almost impossible, because we do not know, we're not allowed to know it. Having this opportunity of speaking at Architecture and Urbanism Biennale, and I would wonder, what about construction materials? Where do they come from? Of course, there is an effort in tracing this back. I think we should push this even further. We should know where our material comes from. There is a beautiful book by Jane Hatton, which is called Reciprocal Landscapes. And somehow it shows that we can see landscape as couples, at least. A place of consumption and a place of production. Our work and Migrating Mediterranean, it's an invite to do this. As a landscape architect, let's say, I plant trees, for instance, on a street profile, but the question is, where do these trees come from? Which tree nursery? How did we get to that tree? How did they grow it? And therefore, the reciprocal landscape of a street profile is a tree nursery somewhere, 200 kilometers away. Granite table has a reciprocal landscape somewhere in a quarry in the mountains of somewhere else. To me, it is included in all our projects, in our understanding that everything we do, tangible and physical, when we design public spaces of different scales, always refers back to a production landscape. Even ground, even soil has a reciprocal landscape because is taken from somewhere else and brought on site. So Migrating Mediterranean is an invite, is an exercise for ourselves and I hope is an invite for others to think landscapes as a continuous and integrated network within the chain of consumption and production, and not only just pictures of self-standing independent landscapes, because as a matter of fact, very difficult, they are independent, but they depend from other landscapes, often located in regions far away from the places of consumption. So to me, this was one of the most valuable lessons, was to, let's say, question time and space and always refer the minimum to its larger spatial or, say, time context, which is, very different from what it appears to be. And I would say overall to question, where does something come from?